And I think we're live. Is it? Sound is good. Everything is good. Got some people joining in. That's going to be fantastic. All right. Yes, I need a pipeline for water. I drink a lot of water before my live streams and before I do any kind of visual work in a sense. And also, it's kind of hot here. So, yes, I drink a lot of water. So, first and foremost, thanks for coming in. Max here. Hope you're doing fantastic today. It is November 27, 2025. So today I'm going to talk about the AGM. I was thinking about doing this for a while, but I was working on a lot of things along the way. The last weeks were very hectic with the interviews and stuff. I want to talk about that as well too. So it was pretty hectic with the interviews and the live streamings along the way that I was doing with other things, especially in Central Alberta with the ABP stuff. That was quite impressive. When I take a look at this, you can also look on FCal's social media accounts. So today's topic, the AGM, what to expect, how to deal with that, what to do, and the candidates as well. So I think some people were kind of worried about the candidates, and I'm going to touch on that as well. So before I start my live stream, I want to show you some information. I'm just going to pan over to the second screen here, just a second. Just going to switch over to the second monitor here. There you go. So this is from the UCP website, as you can definitely see there. So this is from UnitedConservative.ca. When you go on the website, you just click in there. So we're going to take a look at the information that's in there so you can understand what was going on there. So that's going to be tomorrow that's going to be tomorrow. I'm going to look at the schedule here. There is the schedule for the AGM schedule. So it starts on Friday. Yeah, I think I was screaming on the microphone, which I am, but not. Okay, so draft schedule Friday, November 28th. And that stretches all the way to on the 29th and the 30th. Just subject to change, but that's pretty much very accurate here. And we're going to talk about in a second to what it is. So this is for Sunday, November the 30th here. That's for the AGM as well too. So first and foremost, the AGM itself, what it looks like, what's the deal, what's important about the AGM as a result as well. So the AGM, it's, I think, for me personally, I go every year. I think ever since I started to get involved politically, I do go to the AGM pretty much every year. It happens around November-ish. That's what the AGM usually occurs every year. And it's an amazing networking opportunity. So I do go for networking, and also because we're going to talk about, they're going to vote on policies and that sort of thing. Policies, candidates for multiple boards at the board of directors, that could be very important depending on where you are. And this is where, when you talk about the candidates I'm going to go after later on, that's kind of where people are going to see things like, I'm going to share on the screen. I'm just going to give some peek on what I'm going to talk about it. When you start to see things like this, those kind of things like candidates and such, I want to touch base on that, but this is what's going to happen. So the purpose of the AGM has three functions primarily. One is to gather all the UCP members. I'm a member. I'm not going to lie, I'm a member. That's why I get to vote for those things. So it allows every UCP member to vote for the provincial board of directors. That includes the regional directors. That includes Northern Alberta, Central, Southern Alberta, Edmonton, and as well as Calgary. They have their own independent regions. So when you go on the ballot box, you're going to see, I think the ballot box is going to be, I believe it's on Saturday. Let me check. I'm checking at the schedule here. So the voting for the candidates going to be at 9 in the morning on Saturday. Saturday night in the morning, that's where you get to get the actual, that's where you go to vote for the board of directors, precisely. So they have, basically, you have the regional directors, which is South, Central, Northern Alberta, Edmonton, Calgary. They have their independent ones. In this particular year, they have the VP of Communications that's been renewed, VP of Fundraising, Secretary, and I believe also the President. Yeah, the President, obviously. President, VP of Communications, Fundraising, Secretary, and I believe that's the only thing that are being renewed this year around. So that's what it looks like. When you get there, it's important to get on time. My suggestion is, if you go, like, I usually go on a Saturday because on Friday, that's where I drive most of the time. For example, on Saturday, it starts at 8 in the morning registration process. Get to the site at 7, let's say 6:30 in the morning at latest, because at 8 in the morning, everybody's lined up. Once you get there to the AGM, to the site, you're going to get, well, this is from last year's AGM. You're going to get something like this with the current year. So this is 2024 because I was there in 2024. So you're going to get the newer version for 25, right? It used to be 24. This happens to be in red deer last year. So this is the agenda. You'll get an agenda, okay? Just me a second. I'm just going to adjust the microphone stand for a second here. It's kind of falling. Sorry for that. So you're going to get this. This is the aging. This is the agenda. Governance and policy resolutions. You'll get also a little yes and no. And this is where you get to vote. So what happens during the vote is that everybody's in the room, and when they vote on policy, or touch on based on that, you're going to say yes or no. And there's somebody who's going to see, oh, everybody's voting for yes, go ahead. Everybody's voting for no, go ahead. There are multiple policies that essentially get voted. And there's some policies that sometimes they have like a 55% yes, 45% no. So they get to recount manually. And that's how they enforce this. So we had yes or no. So you get the agenda. You get the yes, no card. And also, you also get a lanyard with your name in there. So in order to get to the AGM, you have to be a member. Depends on the situation. If you're a member, you get to get the member price. If you are from the outside, i.e., I know there's like a delegation from BC who's coming this weekend. They can actually attend the event. They just don't have the right to vote, and they pay the full price. So I think the price right now is, it's $1,000, which is pretty expensive. But if you were to buy those tickets like before the regular price, it would be like $500 for a non-member. If you were a member, I think it started at $165, and then you pay $200 after this, and then you pay the $400, which is the regular price. I paid the $204. That's how much I paid for my ticket, and that boils down as that as well too. I want to see if there are any comments on the chat before moving hand. Yeah, 2 days I'm driving. Where exactly are you guys? I'm in Edmonton, so that's good. I'm basically living I live 2 miles from the site, so it's not too bad as a deal. Did you get a store Maclean CD net? No, I don't. I listen to techno music and I rave on my truck. So that's how I do things. So that's for the AGM. Another thing that is not included in the pamphlets and everything, my suggestion, bring a bottle of water. Please, for the love of God, you're going to sweat. You're going to walk a lot. It's very sporty. You're going to run a lot, especially when you're not familiar with the AGM. That can be very intimidating. So bring yourself your bottle of water. Important. Also, I don't have here, it's on the back, but bring yourself some battery packs for your cell phone. Those rechargeable things. Can I see this on my phone, on the camera? Yes. Bring yourself a couple of these. You're going to need those for your cell phone. And also, in regards to the cell phone, don't expect the cell phones to work in this on-site. I remember when I was in Red Deer last year, there was no service at all. So if you want to do some sort of live streaming, I don't think you can. But if you want to use your phone, unless you're using Wi-Fi calling, which I think everybody should do, I don't think you can make PSTN phone calls. Just don't expect your phone to work. Last year's AGM, I was at the very front, and the cell phone service was basically non-existent. Just keep an eye on that as well too. So when I see some people there, there's no line voting at the AGM in person. Of course, it's only in person. You cannot vote online. You have to be on site. So don't think it's a Dominion system. It's people actually counting benefits like this. So that's that. I'm going to show you a screenshot of the site. So I'm just going to pan over to the second screen here. So I'm going to show you what the site looked like. Oh, give me 1 second. Something happened with my monitor here. Okay. I want to show you the site here. Oh, give me 1 second. My monitor kind of glitched. Sorry for that. Technical issues, I guess. Just a second. There we go. Second camera is coming in. Okay. I'm so sorry for this. There was a technical glitch. The second monitor here was, for some reason, decided to shut itself down. So sorry for that. So I'm going to here, presentation, webcam only. Okay, I think we're in. Okay, now it's good. So this is, as I mentioned, this is from the website here. There used to be a website. You can look the information right now. I'm going to show you the location where it is. Okay, so it's at the expo. So I'm going to Google Maps and Expo Edmonton. So basically it's the expo right here. So this is where the event is going to happen. I'm going to use the maps layers and I'm going to show you what it looked like. So if you're in Edmonton, there's also, if you're in Edmonton, there's the City of Edmonton website. You can go there. If you use public transit, it's actually on the LRT station. It's called the Coliseum station here. So if you are in the city in Edmonton, I suggest you to take transit for this particular event because there will be too many people at the same time going as well to the site. So let's say you're in Edmonton and you're departing, let's say from U of A. University of Alberta, let's say, just giving some random data. And their destination, that's the expo. But in really what you need to do, and really what you need to look at is called the Coliseum Station. So I'm going to put Coliseum Station, LRT. Coliseum LRT, that's the station you need to go. And it's going to show you the itinerary. This is if you're in Edmonton. I strongly suggest you to take the transit for that kind of stuff. So this is 118 Ave here. This is where you need to go. The expo is around here. So this is when Gretzky around. So this is Coliseum LRT. The expo center is right here. This is when Gretzky here. So this is where everything's going to happen. When I was there last year at the AGM, in either Red Deer or Calgary, except for Calgary, I actually rented a hotel room near the area, and I show up very, 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 very early. So make sure I will not be able, because the parking spot's gonna fill very quickly. What I mean very quickly is that the event starts at 8 in the morning on Saturday, for example. It's full pack at 7:15. So it's going to be very, very chaotic very quickly. That's for the time perspective, just to give you an understanding. So when you get there to the AGM, you're going to check out. I want to talk about the parking. I want to get lost in Edmonton. I hope my map things works properly. Well, yeah. So if you're in Edmonton, if you're coming from the city, if you're not from Edmonton though, I want to show you something really cool. I want to show you the path you can take depending on the situation. If you're coming from Edmonton, if you're coming from Calgary, if you're coming from the west, all those things. I'm going to show you for a second what it looks like. Just give me 1 second. Just going to share the screen here. So I'm going to show you the path that you can take. Okay, so let's say that you're living from the south side. Let's say you're from Red Deer. Let's say you're coming from Red Deer. You have to go from, so this is, okay, shut up. So this is Highway 28. What you should do is to, I'm thinking here, if you're coming from the south, you're going to have to take, I'm trying to give you the most direct route as possible. So if you're coming from the south, let's say on Highway 28, you need to take Highway 28, Highway 2, this is the airport here, this is the airport around here. So let's say you're coming from Calgary, you have to drive all the way here. And then you take the Hyundai 216 there, and you drive all the way to the Yellowhead here. So this is 216, and you take I think that's better. You take the Shower Park Freeway here, and that becomes Argyle Road, and you take Argyle Road here. This becomes 82nd Street. Okay, then you turn right here on 75th Ave Street, right here. And if you drive on 75th all the way on the north, you're gonna pass the river. I'm just gonna remove that. Once you pass the river, the North Sask River, the expo will be on 118 Ave here. But there's a street you can turn left to, which is 116. And I'm going to show you a map, a little screenshot. You can see what it looks like. Correction, that is not correct. Oh, it's on chemtrails over there. That's good. So this is when Gretzky. Oh, I was there. Okay, that's good. So you have to drive over here, and that's the expo entrance there. So the key component, the key entrance will be, if you're coming from the south and from the north as well, will be from Wayne Gretzky to 116 Ave here. So that's going to be, I'm going to put it on the chat on the GPS coordinates just a second here. That's for the GPS coordinates. I use GPS coordinates all the time, just FYI. If you're coming from the east, let's say if you're from Renwright, all those guys, let's say if you're coming from the east, Renwright, for example, is actually even easier if you come, because, for example, if you're coming from the east, let's say you're in Victorville and you want to come south, you can always take the Highway 16 and you take Fur Road. Fur Road should be around, so that's the Yellowhead. So you continue on Highway 16, and you have to take the exit towards Delton, Elmwood Park. So that is 82nd. So must be. So this is Fur Road. Fur Road is actually a continuation of Wayne Gretzky or Wayne Gretzky Drive if you're in the area. So that's a very important point. So this is Wayne Gretzky here on the south. So this is what I was talking to the experts right here. This is the Yellowhead, and this is Yellowhead westbound. This is Fur Road as well too, and Fur Road actually becomes Wayne Gretzky Road here. See, it all converges basically. If you're coming from the west, it's basically the same thing. You take Yellowhead on eastbound, and then you just turn right on Fur Road. So basically, Fur Road, Wayne Gretzky Drive are the key points to get to this site. If you take the LRT or public transit, is the Coliseum LRT station, and the city of Edmonton has its own website to get things up and going. So I sent on the chat the GPS coordinates of the location. You want to take a look? I'm just gonna send at the beginning of the location. So I've sent the GPS locations of the coordinate to turn on, but that's essentially the expo site. I'm gonna see if there are any questions on the chat. No thanks. Priest Francis can work together. Okay, that's the brainer. Okay. I need your expertise in Edmonton Street. Well, I've been here for 3 years, so I know the area quite well. And one particular thing specifically about the AGM this year is that A, it's in Edmonton, and B, that happens right in the belly of Janice's Orwin's riding. So she must be very upset because we're doing our AGM and right in her riding, but I don't care. Now, I want to take a look at the schedule a little bit here so you can understand in more details what I'm going to talk about it. I'm just going to switch the camera just on one side. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to shrink myself from the camera. That's going to be awesome. There you go. I was using too much of the camera. So about the schedule, what it looks like. So, of course, this is a draft schedule. Okay, I'm going to Friday. Okay, so this is Friday here. It starts at 11 p.m. Registration opens. Basically, the registration process, they're going to ask you if you're a member. They're going to ask you your ID, driver's license, all that stuff. And basically, in here from 1:30 to 2:50, you're going to see the UCP leader and president. That's going to be, in this case, Rob Smith, which I interviewed, by the way. Oh, speaking of, no, I'll talk later on about the interviews and the leaders and that sort of thing. So Rob Smith's going to be speaking there, the board candidate speeches, opening ceremonies, and very big session with Premier Smith and the cabinet, governance, debate, and voting, and reception and hospitality suites. By the way, I don't know if you guys have checked your hotel or not. I mean, I live in Edmonton, so I don't need to care about it that much. There is some hotels you can buy here that you can rent. You can take us for the weekend. I think you can even have a discount because they're on the UCP website, but I haven't checked. That's for Friday. I would say that generally speaking, Saturday is the most important day of the AGM. With all days included, Saturday is the more important one. So that's why I mentioned that 8 in the morning, that's where it starts. When I was in Calgary about 2 years ago, yes, the registration process starts at 8, but I was at the site at 7 in the morning. And it was already filling up. So it's very important for you to be on time. From 9 in the morning to 2 p.m., what's going to happen during that period of time is that people will line it up to vote for the candidates. The candidates here, I'm going to show you kind of where I'm going to show you the candidates here. So obviously you have the board candidates, Derek Comic, who's running for president, Rob Smith, incumbent, Secretary Dan Herder, Scott Payne, all those guys there. If you click on the website, you have that you got their bio, but I think they also have their own presentation as to who is. You can look that up. Let's say if I want to say Rob Smith, for instance, can I click in Rob Smith? Yeah. You can see, so Sean Newman actually has some interviews, but I have also my interviews on my own. So if you go to Freedom Calendar social media accounts, under playlist here, there is a playlist called UCP AGM on 2025 Leadership there. So when you click in there, there's a playlist of interviews that I made with Bonnie Meikle. I don't know if she's there on the stream. If she's there, hi, Bonnie. So this is a series of interviews that we've done with the candidates. You're going to look that up. That's why I mentioned that I spent a lot of time trying to make the interviews, and that's why I was so busy, because I was interviewing with Bonnie and put into a video format as well. I think that the questions that I have that Sean Newman were asked. No, the questions that Sean Newman was asking to the candidates were similar to our questions. Our question goes more in depth, so might take a look at these questions as well too. And in there we have almost all the candidates. We have Samantha, who's running for VP Outcomes, Irma Roberts, who's running for Regional Director for Calgary. So you can take a look and see the candidates' interviews as you wish. I'm going to post that on the chat. So if you want to take a look at this, I'm going to post it on the chat. Hey, Money. Yeah. So I'll post it on the chat, the link, so you can watch the interviews as well. So you can watch it while you're getting on the site. Feel free to do so. So we interviewed most of them. They also interviewed the Showtown, the Cowtown Showdown as well. I also have this video here from Rob Smith on Independence, if you're interested as well too. So basically, what happens is that we have the UCP has their own interviews. I have my own interviews because sometimes it's good to see different things. So that's going to happen. So make sure you arrive on time. I won't say on time. I said in advance. So make sure to get in advance. You'll go to the registration booth. They'll give you this document here, agenda, conventions, that sort of thing. Another thing that I want to touch base on this is to bring pencils. You're going to need pencils. And bring yourself a notebook as well, and like a notebook or something to write notes in there, because you're going to exchange phone numbers and business cards. I have my business cards for Freedom Calendar. Obviously, it's my business, right? So I'm going to give that to people with my phone number and email information, and that sort of thing is expected. But make sure to also expect to take notes. Bring yourself also, I don't have it with me, but bring yourself a backpack, like something you can carry your laptop, or something you can carry something with on your back as well too. Very important to put everything there. This is a joke I'm about to say. I hope it doesn't happen. It's an inside joke. I basically broke my computer backpack at the AGM systematically every year. So I hope that my backpack doesn't die at the AGM this year, because it always breaks. It always snaps, and I don't know. I sincerely hope that doesn't happen this year, please. Because it happens every single time. I was in Calgary, it happened. I was in Red Deer, it happened. So please make sure that doesn't happen this year. That'd be good. Otherwise, it will be another $80 or something. Yeah, that helps one-stop shop, absolutely. So backpack, water, something to write notes in there, pen, amazing. And if you want to take pictures, bring your cell phone. I actually got 2 cell phones. I have my regular cell phone and my other cell phone as well. I used to take photos, but that's because I'm a content creator. That's why. Even it's a brand new backpack. Oh yeah, it's anything you can put. Anything in general, a backpack could be anything like to put a laptop in there or something to that effect. Anything that you can. For ladies, you may use a purse. It's just that sometimes you're gonna get more material than this material. Also, in the last year's AGM, there was an area at the expo, like with some kiosks, and there you have all the candidates who are running for regional director or VP of comms or whatever. They have their kiosks over there, so you can learn about the candidates and that sort of thing. That's where I met some folks from Rumble last year. Sometimes I was carrying my Rumble hat. That's where you got it at the AGM. Actually, if you see this, it says Alberta, more Alberta, less Cam, less Ottawa. I got it at the AGM as well too. So there's also some swag you can buy at the AGM. So if you want to, there's some swag that it's only available at the AGM. You get some swag. I got some T-shirts and stuff from the AGM as well too. Now I want to talk about the meat and potatoes type of talk. And before I jump into that, I want to see if there are any comments around it as well too. Let me see if there are any comments. I'm putting stuff on my basket. Yeah, that'd be good. Before I continue to the next subject, which is the candidates, I want to, if you want to chip in and see some e-transfer to go at freedomcalendar.net, that's going to be appreciated. Keep things up and going, and that's going to be fantastic for me to go over events like this. That's the information is on the bottom section if you want to contribute to the subject. Now, what I want to talk about today, and this the reason why I'm doing the live stream in a sense, is the candidates. So I'm going to take a few screenshots that I took from social media and on the internet as well. So basically what happens is that this is not my list, by the way. So just be clear. I don't recommend people to vote for one or two particular candidates because there are multiple lists like that, right? And I'm going to show you a few lists here, okay? So as I mentioned, I'm not endorsing publicly a candidate. I cannot tell you anyway because the media, we can't. What happens is that just think I'm about to say, because if not, I'm going to get into trouble. People like myself and other people who are at the UCP multiple years. I mean, this is my 3rd year at the AGM. This is my 3rd AGM ever. My first was in Calgary. My second was in Red Deer. This is my 3rd one, and that's going to be in Edmonton, which is fantastic. We are a lot of people who are in the game for a long time, and we know the history of the candidates and that sort of thing. It's also this independence component that wasn't there last year, that it is going to be a determining factor this year. That being said, last year's AGM was the dynamic was different from this year. This year's AGM will be particularly interesting because there's the independence thing going on, and now we have this stupid pipeline it's not gonna yield to anywhere, right? I don't think it's gonna do anything on the right. To be honest, it's a carrot on a stick. To be honest, that being said, There's a lot of people out there who are going to vote for this guy. Go vote for this another guy. This guy is in the establishment. Guy works for the government. I want to show you a list of candidates that this is from. By the way, this is not my list, and I'm not endorsing everybody here at this point, but I'm just going to give an example. So this is from Green Abraham, for example. So you see board positions. There was Comic and Rob Smith. Basically, what he was saying, what Green Abraham, I took this from Facebook. What Green Abraham was saying is Rob Smith works for the government, which is not true. He used to work about 10 years ago. And during our interviews, that's why it's important to see my interviews and compare to other people's interviews. We systematically ask each individual candidate, have you ever worked in public office at the federal level, municipal level, all those guys? And many people who are on the freedom train have indeed worked in public office. They've been working in public relationships. One of them was actually working as a civil engineer, I believe. So there's a lot of, it's not because somebody worked at the government that is necessarily from the establishment. The opposite can be true as well. There's a lot of misinformation when it comes to the candidates, primarily because they're in campaign mode and everybody wants to win, obviously. But what I'm telling you is, it's not because you see in the list that is necessarily true as well, too. I have my own opinion of the candidates. I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to vote because most people will be disappointed or happy to see that, depending on how you see things. My point I'm trying to make is that with the independent stuff, and there are very high influential people gearing or trying to influence people into voting for certain candidates who are there, but they're trying to convince a subset of people at the AGM who are essentially very new. As I mentioned, this is my third year at the AGM. For a lot of people, this is going to be their first AGM ever, and they don't know, they have no clue how this thing works, and they get told, vote for this guy, vote for this Y guy, vote for this Z guy, without knowing the context of that. That's why I'm very cautious into endorsing everybody. That's why I prefer telling people and interviewing people instead of what Jeff Raff is doing, which is vote for this guy, So that's why I'm very cautious into endorsing people. And just FYI, just a disclaimer, I took some pictures from the internet. This is some pictures that were in public domain, in Facebook groups and on Twitter. Same thing. Do your research. The best thing you can do, and this is my perspective, you have their faces on the UCP website. Go and talk to the candidates at the kiosks level and talk to them. Hey, what's your stance on Alberta independence? What's your stance on this? What are you going to do? And this. I think that what you need to look at is not necessarily the independence thing that much, but what you specifically need to look at is how they're going to respond to their members. If a majority is going to respond by the majority of the candidates is going to respond about this policy or this, that's what you need to look at. Because yes, the UCP is running the government right now. That's a fact. But the UCP is not the government. It's just like this entity that has MLAs in there. I was going to say MPs, but MPs federal. MLAs at the legislative building on behalf of the UCP. Okay. Also, one thing is that if you take a look at the members from Alberta Prosperity, UCP, and all those groups, they're intertwined, pretty much like a Venn diagram in a sense. You have the UCP on one side, the EPP on one side, and you have a common set of members that are in the middle, and that's what you see at the AGM. So yes, there's a lot of people who are on the independent straight, and also one thing, there are people at the UCP who actually signed the petition for Forever Canada, the Forever Canadian petition as well too. It is not 100% on one side or the other. That's why the UCP was actually formation from the Walrus Party and the Progressive and the PC Party, right? Just there is a component attached to that as well. But it's important to realize that you might have a divergence of opinions as well. That being said, what you need to look at is look at the members. You need to look at the list of, you need to make sure that your candidate is going to be there for you when you need it. That's what you need, and he or she is consistent. That's what you need to look at. You need to be your candidate that's going to be at the position it has to be there for you when you need it. And also one thing, and this is something that really ticked me off, when somebody says that is working for the government, all of those positions, either at the VP of Comms down to the president, they're volunteers. They don't get paid by the UCP. They don't get paid by the government. If somebody is telling you that XYZ candidate works for the government, that's false. They are volunteers. And some of them are putting 30, 40 hours a week volunteering for a party. Just keep an eye on that. And because of that, they're doing their very best to make sure that everything is working. So I think it's good to notice, to tell that, because there's a lot of people, there are people in the grassroots who are essentially saying this guy works for the government, what in fact just volunteering for the UCP. He has no obligation to do so, right? If somebody like, let's say in this case, Rob Smith is volunteering for this position, right? He's doing voluntarily. He has his own job, has his own business, you know. A lot of those people who are working at in those positions are retirees. I think Dan Herder, which we interviewed, he was about to retire. I think he was a lawyer at the time. And he literally said on the interview, I'm about to retire and I want to use my time for the UCP. And it's a volunteer position. It's not, they don't get paid to do so. So I just wanted to tell people that is not a paid position. And because of that, there's a sort of this misconception between the expectation that people have versus what they're actually doing. So I'm just going to go under the questions. Yeah, absolutely. So people need to vote. You need to do their homework as to what they need to vote for. I have a very preconceived idea of who I'm going to vote for, obviously. And it's my personal vote. Okay. So basically that's what I have for the candidates. Just use your own judgment. If you have questions, go to the kiosks there. For many of the people who are going to be at the AGM this year around is their first experience. It's an amazing networking opportunity. Also, one thing I just noticed, that having said, wearing my t-shirt, my hoodie here, wear a suit. Go to Moore's and buy yourself a sport jacket. Be presentable. That I can tell you. Be presentable. The people who are there are probably going to be people like you. So be presentable. Be classy. That's going to be your chance for second. Expect to get business cards. I remember last year's AGM, I gave all my stack of business cards with my phone number in there. So, yeah. I'm going to see if there are any questions about the AGM in particular. See if there's anything. They have no treaties. Okay, a whole bunch of that. Don't care. This is talk about the AGM specifically. I need your expertise in Edmonton streets. Well, Edmonton, that's funny. Edmonton, everything about Edmonton, if you don't live in the area, all the city is on the northwest quadrant. So when people say 116 Avenue Northwest, that's Edmonton. You got Northeast, which is past Shower Park, but that's essentially a black hole. Nobody dares to go to the northeast. If you want to kill somebody and make sure that the corpse never gets found, you go to the northeast side. Just saying. Any more questions I have? So bring yourself your water, please. And this is something that I want to talk about. This is this is something that my dad taught me. When you fill with when you're filling water, your mug with water, fill it, put it on the freezer, but you have to fill your bottle just half filled. Put it on the freezer. When you pick it in the morning, you fill the rest of water, but it's going to stay cool for a long time. So I do that on trades, and when I'm doing construction work and labor in blue collar jobs, works every time. You're going to see a lot of people. I think they're expecting like 3,000, 4,000 people. But it's important to show up. You're paying for this anyways. It's important to show up to the AGM. This particular AGM will be a very unique one because of the independent stuff. I wonder what's going to happen when people are going to sing "Oh Canada." That's my impression, because they do that every time. They sing "Oh Canada." I wonder what's going to happen in this particular AGM. Are people going to sing AGM "Oh Canada"? I don't know. Just saying. What else do we need to talk? I got something I needed to talk, but I just don't remember. Facts and documents. Yeah, lunch. Depending on the package it will be a very political chat church. Definitely. Absolutely. It's going to be an AGM that I've never seen before. That's what I can tell. There's going to be an AGM that I personally never seen before. I'm going to elude on the parking situation there. So I'm just going to change the screens a little bit here. So there is a free parking spot. If you drive in your car, you have to register your car. So I'm going to send the link on the chat here. Vince will pray during the opening ceremonies. Oh, that's awesome. Vince Byfield, right? That's awesome. This is a website. I put it in there. If you go to the website from the United Conservative Party, okay? If you go to the AGM website and you scroll down just a little bit there, you're going to see the parking situation there. But yeah, you have to do... So that's the website here. That's for the parking. It's there is a parking included, obviously, but you gotta register your car. So obviously it starts at November 27th, which is today, actually, down to the 30th. Expo Center here. You're gonna need to enter your car plate and the province and your email, and you can get an email with this information. That is required for you to park your car. So yeah, it's a free parking, but you need to register your car in advance. That's the only thing you need to do. And my suggestion is to keep your receipt at all times. Even it's free, make sure they have your email working so you can do that as well too. So I know that there's going to be a lot of stuff going on at the AGM. It's going to be very charged. I know that in the last AGM in Red Deer, it was particularly weird because there was the leadership review with Daniel Smith. I think every AGM that we have has its own set of idiosyncrasies right now. So there's always some shenanigans that happen prior to the AGM as well too. So I don't know if there are any more questions. Going to see on the chat if there are any more questions. I want to take a look at this. No, I think it was all about it. Yeah. So I'll be at the AGM, obviously. I'll be there for sure. If you want to say hello, say hi, Max. How you doing? And I'm just thinking about something about the AGM that I haven't thought of that. I don't know if that's going to happen in this particular AGM, but I remember in Calgary they have a youth event, so you have the young adults there in a separate room, and there are people about the Gen Zs, like under 28 or 30 or so. They were in a room and talk about politics. So that's another thing that's very cool, very interesting to see as well too. Exchange phone numbers and that sort of thing. The kiosks there, very interesting to see people there. I will say that during the last AGM, I spent more time socializing than doing actual work. Just keep an eye. Oh, and also for the voting positions, like there was something on Saturday from 9 to 2 p.m. to vote. It's a huge lineup because all the UCP base has to vote. So make sure to be there on time, so you'll be able. Otherwise, you'll be stuck on the lining booth just to vote. So make sure to vote early. At the last time I voted whenever I was voting in Calgary, I was on the lineup probably at 10 in the morning, and I left at 11:30. During the last AGM in Red Deer, because I have a timing constraint, I have to drive through Edmonton. I have some BS to deal with. I needed to vote at 12, and that was pretty hectic. I want to talk about the policy changes. So this little thing that you see here, okay, governance and board, and for Summers board, the agenda. I think in there is going to have these positions. Resolution. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Here's the thing. That's what I want to say. When you go to the AGM, during the voting process, they're going to vote on resolutions. So that's where your yes and no card comes handy. When you get on the registration booth, they're going to give you this document that I just sent to you. And this has the resolutions. Okay? For example, I'm just going to read one of them just on top of my eye here. Resolution number... Let's take a look at resolution number 9. So it says, submitted by Taber Warner, type ad, area government, transparency and accountability. It says... The United Resolution, the United Conservative Party believes that the government of Alberta should require disclosure of funding sources for all groups which are lobbying AFL or protesting to influence the government of Alberta. NDP, anyone? So that is resolution. These are non-binding resolutions, by the way, but people actually get into those. So the way it's going to happen is that they're going to show you a little video of the requester who pushed this resolution, and people will say, do you agree on this? Yes or no? There are some situations where the vote was too narrow between the yes and no's. So what tends to happen is that people, when the margin is too narrow, people can have their cards in there, and somebody is actually physically counting the yes and no's. And it takes some time to say, okay, we have 1,075 yes and 900 no's, that type of thing. It happened last year. It happened in Calgary, I think, on some resolutions about the schools there. So that's kind of cool. Also, they also have, I don't know if that's going to happen this year's AGM, but they have a map of the site there at the last page, so you can actually see basically where everything is located, So this is like the example from last year's AGM. You see? So agenda, revolution, governance and policy resolutions, very handy to keep those. And that's also the agenda. So this is from last year's AGM, obviously. They tell you how that's going to happen, the agenda over there. Welcome to Red Deer, because last year's was in Red Deer, the Western Park, by the way. So that's going to be very interesting to see this year's AGM. See what happens. Got more questions there. See you tomorrow, everybody. Be there for governance and oh yeah, absolutely. About the governance thing, the policy and governance. These are UCP members who actually put in policies. Like, for example, I think Bonnie, I remember Bonnie, she was talking about that. She was talking about this policy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just paraphrasing here. But she's essentially putting a policy that requires citizens, like Canadian citizens, Canadian citizens to vote to become members of the UCP or to vote for policy, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have to double check my notes here. The Sax Party voted a similar policy in Saskatchewan as well too, right? So there's a lot of policies that will be geared towards independence, about stricter governance, those things. So watch out for those. During the last year's AGM, it was all about the Bill of Rights from the Black Hats. I'm going to watch those here. During the last year's AGM, we had 35 resolutions and special motion for the Alberta Bill of Rights, page 243. So that's going to be, so basically this document that I have here is exclusively about the policy resolution. Okay, so keep this in handy. So to conclude, arrive in advance. It's like mandatory. Bring water, bring a backpack, bring pens, some pens there, battery packs as well too on my cell phone. The cell phones have many battery packs in plural because you might need to charge. There's no cell phone service in the area. At least don't expect cell phones to work. It's important because of 911, by the way, just FYI. I'm just gonna put my glasses. Just a second here. I need to put my glasses. I want to see my screen. That's odd. Yeah, I'm blind. Yeah, that's the one about law calling citizens only to be able to have UCP memberships. Okay, yeah. Thanks, Bonnie. Yeah, but that's another thing. It's like this is a policy about if you want to be a UCP member, you have to be a Canadian citizenship, not permanent residence, something along those lines. You see what I mean? Bylaw and government's resolutions are binding policies. The next day are not. Okay, good. Thanks for asking. Thanks for letting me know. I wasn't fully sure. What else about the AGM? So bring water. Cell phones are probably not going to work. Bring a battery pack or two. Expect business cards to be bring business cards to people and get other business cards that we need for that. Wear comfortable clothes and very good clothes as well, like a sports jacket, 150 at most. It's pretty good. And very comfy clothes as well. And go to the kiosk and go to see the candidates. Very important. Have an interview with them. Have a chat with them. It's very important. And not just the candidates. They have some swag too. Like I remember last year's AGM, there was some student groups as well too. That was very important to see the student community, the young adults, people trying to get into politics. Very interesting. So that's what I have for today. It's 8 p.m. So I don't know if people have any questions before moving forward. See you tomorrow, everybody. Please be there for governments tomorrow at 6:30. Yeah, that's going to be fantastic. Yes, that's going to be fantastic. Yep. Is that 6:30? Let me check. I'm going to check the schedule. 1 second. Just going to switch the screen a little bit here. Board candidates, rulings and procedures. access free parking, bylaws, governance manual. The schedule. Voting is okay. Policy debate and voting. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I forgot about this. There is a policy debate. That's where people hold their cards mostly, and the governance as well is also very important as well. Governance, debate, and voting, that's also very important as well. I mean, everything is important. My suggestion is to always go in advance and expect some amazing networking opportunities. It's a great thing. I mean, it's solidifies the networking opportunity as well to network with people. Before ending the live stream, I wanna touch on this about the candidate situation. There are some people who want to trash a specific candidate because they don't agree with XYZ, or somebody was telling to vote for a central candidate and they're going to bash the other one because XYZ. You got to understand that they're all conservatives. I've seen and interview a lot of people during that. There are some people who have very good skills. They're conservative. They have very good skills. So don't assume don't denigrate your opponent. Okay? I have good interviews with people. I have I know exactly who I'm going to vote for. But my opponent also there are some people who want to vote for him or her as well, who also support him or her as well. And they also have the equal opportunity for them to be there in the ballot box. Your vote is entirely personal. I don't know if that's part of the policy or not, but it's not fair to say, hey, I voted for this guy and tell everybody to vote for another guy. That thing gets allowed to happen. You have to see that as a regular election. Like a provincial election, same thing with the UCP election. It's a party vote. So each candidate has equal opportunity to be on the ballot box. Just need to be mindful of that. I might vote for some candidates that people will tell me that I'm a jerk because I voted for this guy or for this lady, or vice versa. Just be clear that they have equal voice in this. And also, division is what's going to drive the left is absolutely salivating to the idea that conservatives will one day split the party in half. They want that to happen. So you have to make sure to respect the divergence of opinions. As I mentioned, there will be some people at the AGM who voted for Lukaszik's petition, probably. Maybe in 2 or 3 months, when they get to see the APP events by their own, they're going to be convinced for that, right? That's going to be an avenue solution. But But just keep in mind that doesn't mean that. I think some candidates are saying that you should not vote for him because he's not supporting this. They have their equal chance to be on the ballot box as just like everybody else, and they're running for a volunteer position. They're not even getting paid, so just a little more respectful. I don't like misjudging because when the GM is over, we all want to go together. Oh yeah, exactly. I have people who I have disagreements with. I won't give names. I know people who disagree with me on many fronts, but I still work with them. Okay. The last thing, the NDP and the Liberal Party and all the other guys on the other side, what they want is to have a separated party split in half. That's what they want. So, Bunny, is there any discussion on the recalls? And that's another thing, recalls. The recalls right now, well, this is kind of deviating from the subject just a little bit, but why there are recalls? And this is something that Corey Morgan was talking about, it is that the reason why we have so many recalls is because it's the left's response to the independence strain. They don't want this to happen. This is, if you want to see the live stream from Red Deer, I'm gonna try to find it out and find it on YouTube. Just a second. I want to get that to you. I also want to put it on the chat here because some people haven't checked that. Give me 1 second. Townhalls. Sorry for that. I'm just going to get the live streams here. I'm going to put this on the chat. So go and take a look at this live stream from Red Deer. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So there's going to see. So watch the video from Corey Morgan. That's going to give you a good assessment of the AGM tomorrow. So yeah, so that's that's all I have for today. So I hope to see you there. If you find this content amusing or entertaining or important or informative, I want to ask you to, if you are so kind, just send an e-transfer to go@freedomcalendar.net. Helps everything up and running. I'm gonna do some live streams next week. I can't talk too much about it because it's in the works right now, but just keep an eye on that. So feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the AGM somewhere around, and have a good time there. Thanks for tuning in.